What is the most inoffensive thing you've seen someone get offended by? My 7-month-old was wearing a shirt that had a rocket ship and the NASA logo, and some middle-aged woman in the shop said he shouldn't be wearing that because he's clearly not an astronaut. I was dumbfounded. I still remember in kindergarten when my friend and I were reading all the colors out loud on one of those Crayola super packs. I got straight up yelled at and sent to the principal's office for saying orange pizzazz because the teacher said I called someone a piss ass and would not listen despite having the crayon as evidence. After a 30-minute scolding and waiting for my mom to leave work to pick me up for my suspension, she came in all apologetic. When I explained to her the whole situation, not the school side, Ma went ape speep. I'd heard her say speep once. That's the only swear I ever heard from her. And we had just been rear-ended in traffic. How about cunt? Can he say cunt? 'Cause you're all being cunts right now? This is beeping ridiculous. And just went off while I'm sitting there all. Oh, and the principal is just red AF. I got unsuspended on the spot. But she pulled me out of school for the day anyway. We had a lovely day and she explained very well how I shouldn't swear like that unless absolutely necessary, and I've exhausted all civility. When being civil simply isn't working. Sometimes you might have to call someone a piss ass. The next day at school, I learned that I now had the stigma of being the kid who got the Crayola super pack taken away. A surprising amount of people get very offended when you tell them they can't sit and stare at your vagina while you give birth. We were choosing a mascot for a summer camp where I worked. It was the first day of camp and we'd always let the campers vote on a mascot that we'd use for the rest of the summer as sort of a bonding thing. This year, the kids voted for wolves as the mascot. It was almost unanimous. But one kid, probably about 9 or 10, threw a fit because wolves are bad guys and predators and killers, and he doesn't want to be a wolf. He wants to be a hero. He refused to participate in any team activities because he didn't want to be on a team with the bad guys. At one point, we brought in a guy in a full mascot wolf costume for some anti-bullying program and the kid had a massive tantrum. I almost felt like we were going to learn at some point that his brother was killed by wolves or some other tragic origin story. I did feel bad for the boy because I was fairly certain he had some kind of unaddressed emotional difficulties or something. But we weren't going to change the mascot name that almost everyone voted for. The really sad thing is that wolf populations have suffered a lot due to stereotypes that they're bad. I imagine all the werewolves at the camp were just awkwardly sitting there wondering whether to speak up or not. Using a walking stick. I was in a car accident a few years ago and it beeped my leg up. Since then I've been using a walking stick. I was walking to shop pre-pandemic and an old bloke gave me the dirtiest look I've ever seen. What do you need a cane for? You're only a kid. He actually got quite pissy just seeing me using a stick. Like, my dude, I'm just out trying to buy some milk. I don't need your speep today. I didn't say that out loud. I just said it to myself after I got home. People like that are the reason my partner doesn't like going out. He's had a few operations on his back and needs his stick as one of his legs has been left weaker than the other. He's had someone try and take his stick as he is walking. I nearly battered them. Maybe 22 years ago, I had a phone interview with a baking company. I didn't care to have my peers know what I was up to, so I took the call on my cell phone in my car. The call was crystal clear and no technical issues. At one point, they had mentioned the weather and asked how it was where I was. I told him that I was sitting in my car and I could see that it was actively snowing and whatnot. The interviewer asked me, "Are you taking this call on a cell phone?" I told him I was. Then he asked me if I thought that was appropriate. I asked him what he meant by that. He said he thought it was kind of rude to take a formal call on a cell phone. I told him I would be more than happy to conclude the interview if talking on a cell phone was an issue. If he was interested, I'd be happy to continue it the next day when I'd be at a desk. He again repeated how rude he thought it was that I had called from a cell phone and that there was no need to continue the interview process. I disagreed with the first point but did agree with the second. To this day, I wonder what the hell he was talking about and where he was coming from. One time someone got offended when I put on my seat belt. Thought I was commenting on her ability to drive. Same thing happened to me. The Uber driver said, "Do you wear your seatbelt when you're with your dad?" I said yes. We used an app at work called Bonfire. One person refused to use it because bonfires are for witchcraft and pagans. I spent 9 hours deep cleaning the house for an inspection. I went above and beyond, clearing my work schedule and going the extra mile. And my roommate double-checked my work. He had a complete psychotic meltdown because I forgot to sweep underneath the couch. I moved out the next day and never spoke to him again. I was at the vet with my cat and he sneezed. This was apparently very offensive to an elder woman. She was there with a corgi and she started screaming at me for about 30 minutes about pet hygiene. Sorry. I've been trying to teach him to sneeze into his hanky, but you know how cats are. At school someone didn't have a calculator and asked if anyone had one they could borrow. Someone offered them a pink calculator and they refused, saying that they were offended they'd try and give them something girly. Someone posted a video about 9/11 and someone commented, "Please take this down. You're not from New York. You will never understand this pain." She said this as if only people from New York were in the World Trade Center. I once listened to my boss try to lecture the fire marshal because he was talking about something being flame retardant. Her reasoning was, "You should just call it fireproof because retardant was an awful word." It was one of those times where I really should have tried to stop her, but instead I just stood off to the side, probably making a surprised Pikachu face. I got in trouble in kindergarten for saying the word dead. Apparently it was too violent. In the Pokemon card days of school, me and my bud were showing off how cool our cards were. I said something along the lines of, "Yeah, but mine has more heat, it won't die as quick." Got a letter home to my parents. This is within a year after the DADT repeal. Part of the repeal was that, obviously, you can't make fun of people for their sexual preference. So calling people gay was out. Was getting directions to a co-worker's house. He lived on Gay Street. Our supervisor got belligerent about how we can't say that, even after explaining how it was the street name. When I was a child, my mum paid for something with a check. The cashier remarked that my mum had nice handwriting. My mum flew off the handle, and we had to storm out of the shop in outrage. To this day, I have no idea what happened. Maybe it brought up sore feelings from when she failed the doctor entrance exams. I am a disabled person. My life sucks because of my disability, and no longer being able to do the things I used to love makes me quite depressed sometimes. Some asshole tried to lecture me about how I was ableist for wishing there was a cure for my disability. Beat me for not enjoying being in constant pain and possibly ending up in a wheelchair in the future, I guess. I worked at a restaurant and we put up some Halloween decorations. We had to take them all down when someone found a glittery skull decoration offensive. Similar situation happened to me. I'm a nurse at a children's hospital. I was wearing Mickey Mouse Halloween scrubs which have little dancing skeletons on it. A visitor for one of my patients complained that I was wearing scary and inappropriate scrubs. My mom got mad because, and I quote, she never asks me for money, referring to me. I'm sorry. Would you rather I constantly bug you for cash so I can buy candy and speep? Since she's apparently offering. Take advantage of it. What is the